I am Ruben Gonzalez. I am 29 years old. I am the youngest of my dad's 3 children. I am the caretaker of him. I'm the one that oversees everything that's going on right now with his situation and this progressive disease that he has, the Alzheimer's.
What about this one? And my cool hat.
Yeah.
Who's that?
It's you.
Mm-hmm. What's his name in the picture? Do you know?
No.
But that's me, right?
Yeah.
And that's you, right?
Yeah.
We were playing baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Eat some food up. I keep distracting you, man. Eat some food, man. My dad, his name's Jose Gonzalez. He was born on the 13th of January 1956. And I remember him always telling me he felt like things were going to be rough in his life because he was born on Friday the 13th. He comes from Mexico, San Luis Potosí, very long ways from home. He came into the country in 1973. He said he was always nervous because, you know, he didn't know the language. His sister, who was also from Mexico, met a man and lived in Toledo. So he went there, lived with her for a while. He ended up having a good luck spurt and found a job at Chrysler and was hired officially in 1978.
I was waiting for the Happy Easter! Oh my gosh. You got it. You got it.
So my dad, he was the kind of tough love kind of guy. He would just really act, you know, just a fool sometimes, being funny and being lovable at the same time.
I remember we built the bike together, and I remember asking him, like, Dad, how do you know how to do these things? And he would always tell me, like, you just gotta figure it out, son. You just gotta figure it out. He would call me mijo, which is son in Spanish. I mean, you just gotta figure it out, mijo. You just gotta use your mind, you figure it out. I'd love to be able to go back to that time with him and just enjoy it more.
You know, even as a young boy, that was my dude. I always felt really close to. You know, he would always tell me things to do and things not to do, give me great advice. He was just that guy to always look up to. I've worked at Chrysler since 2007. I've been there 10 years. And my dad, I believe it was up until about 2012, he always worked in the same area I did. So we always went into work together, you know, left together. Every now and then, you know, he was in his, let's say 56, 57 years old. You know, he would repeat some things sometimes. Like he would tell me a joke and, you know, obviously I laugh and then he'd tell it again. And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, you just said this a little bit ago, but, you know, whatever. You know, Dad's getting a little old, you know, no big deal. But I remember a certain case in 2014, I went to Cancun. And I remember before I left, I told my dad, I said, you know, do me a favor, you know, get me from the airport. And I remember landing and me calling my dad and having a headache and just being so tired. And I called him and I say, hey, you know, you here at the airport? And he's like, yeah, you know, where's the airport at? And I couldn't really comprehend what he meant when he said, like, what do you mean where the airport, you know, is at? It's the airport. You've picked up your daughter there numerous amount of times. How do you forget where the airport's at? And I remember just being so flustered that I hung up. You know, we're making phone calls, the people I'm with to get home. You know, he's blowing my phone up and I'm so irritated that I don't feel like talking. And
almost being about 5 minutes away from my home, and Dad calls and, hey, I'm here at the airport, you know, and me still being a little punk. Hey man, forget about it, you know, don't worry about it. I'm already home, you know, you wasted your time. And not thinking anything of it. I remember my brother telling me he was at a car wash, and he told me a story. He said he was washing his car and he had about a minute left, and he gave a few quarters to Dad and said, hey, you know, put some quarters in, you know, the water's about to die.
And so I'm busy washing the car, and then the water runs out. And I turn around and I'm like, where's my dad at? And he's come walking around the corner, and he's looking down at the air freshener. And I'm like, why do you have an air freshener?
You were supposed to buy the water, not the air freshener. And he said that Dad was like, oh man.
And he looked at it and he was super confused about what he had just done, because in his mind, he really thought that he was putting quarters in the timer.
For what was to come, to find out, you know, those were big, big signs. Those were very big signs. My dad always had like a superstition. It was a bad luck color. It was like a navy blue, and he said he would never wear a navy blue shirt. And I remember one morning, it was February 3rd of 2016, I was getting ready for work. I remember I was being lazy the night before. I remember not having no shirts to wear, and there was one shirt in the closet, and it was a navy blue shirt. And I remember picking it up and putting it on and saying to myself, wow, you know, this is Dad's bad luck shirt, you know. How weird is that? Because I never wore this navy blue shirt. About half day into work, you know, I'm in the zone, building the cars, and I get a phone call, and it's from the union, and they say they need to see me in the office. And instantly, it's like, you know, did I get in trouble? Am I getting, did I do something wrong at work? I mean, there were so many things I was thinking, like, what can I possibly be called for? And before anyone can say anything, this guy comes up to me from the union, and he says, hey, you know, come here, I need to talk to you. And he's like, it's about your dad. And he tells me, hey, you know, if we've been having issues with your dad. My dad was the guy that drove the cars off the line, you know. When the car was finished product, you check it out, turn the car on, you take off, and you go to the next car. And I remember he was telling me that there's been people, his co-workers were saying things like, you know, that my dad, he was smelling gas tanks and telling his co-workers, hey, you know, put some gas in these cars, they're not starting. And they would look at him like, Jose, you gotta turn the key, man. It led up for 1, 2, 3 weeks. The guy was showing me the reports he had, and he said, look, I mean, this is what's been happening for all these weeks, and we've always known your dad is a good worker, but something's really going on. So at this point, I'm kind of holding back tears, because I'm kind of realizing, well, maybe something is wrong with him, because he has been forgetting things a little bit, but it kind of really came to me all at once, like the car wash in Cancun. And so we go see him in the next room, and there's, you know, 4 people around him. I'll never forget the way my dad looked. It was like, you know, he was being observed by everybody, and everybody had the, you know, it was like a look of sympathy in their eyes when they seen me, like, you know, here comes his son, you know. I remember just being struck with fear, like, man, something's wrong. A doctor that works at Chrysler, he told me, he said, I'm not a neurologist, obviously, but we've done a few short-term memory tests for your dad, and he's failed horribly. You know, it's something you should probably look into. I have a neurologist I'm going to recommend to you, and you should see him immediately. And another lady came up to me who was a part of the union, and she said, you know, for now, your dad is not allowed to work until he's cleared by a doctor or a neurologist to find out what's really going on with him. And she also whispered in my ears, because he was next to me, don't let him drive. I remember I threw my book bag on, and I walked out with Dad thinking to myself, you know, wow, you know, this is crazy, but everything's gonna be okay, he'll be back. But little did I know that was gonna be his last day of work at Chrysler.